The view from the Turkish border of the Syrian town of Kobani. Bombarded by ISIL militants since mid-September, Kurdish fighters have so far held out and prevented the extremists from gaining control of this strategically significant outpost. Significant because it sits alongside Turkey, a NATO ally.
ISIS is about to have 350 kilometers of uninterrupted border with Turkey, and therefore with NATO, and this is entirely new.
When the Syrian civil war broke out in 2011, Turkey called for the alliance to help protect its population and territory against the threat of missile attack by the Assad regime. NATO responded by sending 3 Patriot missile batteries, which new NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg visited last week. The visit, said the Secretary-General, sent the message that NATO stands by its allies.
NATO's main responsibility is to protect all allies, and of course also Turkey. And we do that by deploying Patriot missiles in Turkey to enhance their air defense systems. And we're going to continue with that.
But Turkey's security threats have evolved since 2011 with the rise of ISIL, which has taken advantage of instability in Iraq and Syria to gain territory and oppose a brutal regime on civilians, killing and driving people from their homes.
They've taken over much of western Syria and eastern Iraq, and they're brutal. We've seen the videos of the beheadings, and they want to apply this form of Islam across the entire Middle East.
When they took Mosul, this was a quantum leap in terms of funding and in terms of weaponry. So we have an organization which is not a state, despite the name, which is a terrorist organization, but which has tactical depth. It has territory, it can move fighters, it can move hostages, it can move training camps, and it can move military assets. And we can see it now with a double attack, one on Baghdad and one on Kobani.
Turkey deployed tanks to the border, and its parliament voted positively on the principle of being able to send in ground troops. But the situation remains complex and evolving. Turkey saw a rush of mainly Kurdish refugees from Syria over its border this month. While US airstrikes near Kobani were greeted with cheers, protests within Turkey saw Kurdish nationals frustrated at not being able to cross over to fight. Turkey has contributed troops to NATO missions in Afghanistan and Libya in the past. So far it's not been explicitly threatened by ISIL, and with Turkey having the second biggest armed forces in the NATO alliance after the United States, it's widely considered unlikely for ISIL to attack Turkey directly.
I personally do not see the Assad regime launching any attack on Turkey, and I don't see at this point ISIS launching an attack on Turkey. ISIS basically now wants to make a demonstration that the coalition is ineffective, that airstrikes are ineffective, and that Turkey will not move a finger, which it hasn't so far. It's more a political demonstration than a military operation.
At NATO summit in Wales this past September, concerns about ISIL were high on the agenda. Rather than a military operation, intelligence sharing between allies and partners could prove far more effective at combating the terrorist threat, including the threat of foreign fighters who return to their home countries to recruit new members. One
of the things that we really need to do in Syria and Iraq is to prevent new fighters from going in. So they come in, some kid in Miami or in Algiers or in London says, this is what I really want to do. I'm going to go to Syria and fight. We need to make it as hard as possible, not just nationally in our, trying to prevent them from going, but helping each other, identifying who's going to the battle zone and how do we actually stop them, and then helping countries who aren't as good on border controls as maybe some of the more advanced countries.
For Turkey, the border remains the focus of its security threats, and with NATO support, it's the challenge that will loom largest in the months to come.
The ISIS threat is basically a homeland security threat because of the recruitment, because of the societal disruption that it creates in so many EU countries and in Turkey as well. Therefore, the measures to be taken by the EU and the US and by Turkey jointly are essentially counterterrorism measures and border control. And this is a huge story in itself. It's not a military operation, but it's a very big challenge.
Ruth Owen, reporting for NATO Channel.